Hey everyone, my name is Tom Krause. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to take a look at Tails. So, what is Tails? Well, let's take a look at the website and see what it says. So, Tails is a portable operating system that protects against surveillance and censorship. It avoids surveillance, censorship, advertising, and viruses. Tails uses the Tor network to protect your privacy online. Your secure computer anywhere. So one nice trick of Tails is that it installs onto a USB stick, and you can pretty much boot most PCs off this USB stick. PCs are laptops, and you get your own personal operating system that's super secure, uses the Tor network. Digital security toolbox, so contains a bunch of tools to work on sensitive documents in relations to encryption is a big one. Free software. Tails is made of open source software, so all the code used to make all of the software, including the operating system, is open source and can be viewed on GitHub, and you can check the code out yourself if that's what you're into. Recommended by Edward Snowden, Tor Network, Electronic Frontier Foundation. Okay, so it uses Tor, but what is Tor? Well, easily to explain what Tor is. So you've got a Tor client, which would be our Tails system. And let's say the destination here is google.com. So you want to go, so typically, if you want to connect to google.com, you just log onto your PC and directly connect to Google. Google logs your IP address. If you log in, then it will associate that IP address to the login, and over time, Google builds up this profile of you, and you can use that profile then to spam you with ads. If you're using Tor, then you're using the Tor network before you connect to your destination. So, and there's 3 different levels of encryption here. So as it goes through each one of these before it hits the destination, it's encrypted. So your Tor client, which is your Tails client, you go into the entry point, say the entry guard of the Tor network. Okay, then your traffic is routed to a relay within that Tor network, and then it's routed again onto something called an exit relay or an exit node, and then it connects to your destination. And so on the Google side, when they see you connecting, all they're seeing is the IP address of the exit relay. Now there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these exit relays, and basically they can be in any country in the world. So your client here is sitting in your homeland, but the exit relay makes it look like you're coming from somewhere else, and it's completely untraceable. So the Google side cannot go through the exit relay, middle relay entry guard back to your system to get your IP address. Okay, that's pretty much what Tor is at a very high level. I mean, you can go to the Tor's main website. It gives you much more details on how it works. Okay, so let's get into installing Tails. We go to the link, install Tails. So Tails is supported on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's worth noting on most of these, except for the terminal, you can use a tool called virt-manager. This allows you to take a USB image that we will download in a minute, and then flash it to a drive. So I recommend that you're using at least a 16 gig drive here, but you can pick these up for a couple of euros on Amazon, so that's okay. So if we go into each of these different installation types, they're all pretty much the same. Download Tails, verify your download, virt-manager, install Tails using Etcher, restart your Tails and basically boot your laptop on your USB stick. Welcome to Tails. And if you look through all of these in Mac, it's the same, very similar process. Install virt-manager, install Tails, restart your system with your USB stick. Welcome to Tails. And Linux is slightly different, which we will go into because Linux is the operating system I'm using here, and it's the installation I will do. And you've got the terminal again, which is Linux. One other thing we will be exploring here as well, not just yet, but is running Tails inside a virtual machine with persistent storage. So Tails has this idea of persistent storage. Let's see, does it work here? Is it mentioned? So the persistent storage allows us to save some data on an encrypted drive. So as we bring our USB key to different computers and boot them up, then we retain some data, the likes of Tor, bookmarks, email configuration, Wi-Fi configuration, PGP keys, stuff like that. We will boot it up and we'll take a look soon enough. Okay, so let's install Tails. I'm going to do maybe 3 different ways of installing Tails. 2 of them are on a USB drive and 1 of them is on a virtual machine. So download Tails for USB sticks. So we have to click this link to download Tails. I already have it downloaded here. I've also taken a backup of it because I have messed this up a few times in the past. So it's important that you keep a backup, otherwise you will have to re-download it again and again. So let's use the Etcher tool first. Okay, so this is the one that is recommended for Windows and Mac. We can use Etcher to flash a drive. So I plugged in a cheap SanDisk 16 gig USB drive here. This USB drive was maybe 3 or 4 euros. It was very cheap. It's just very easy to do this. So simply click Flash from File, go into Downloads, select your file, select Open, and select Flash. And this will flash your drive after about 5 or 10 minutes, and then you can take it out, plug it into another PC or laptop, and boot off it. I don't particularly like this tool because it seems to me that it's full of ads. Once you click Flash, you got this kind of window that displays ads, and I'm not a big fan, so I don't like that tool. There are alternatives. On Linux, you can use a native tool called GNOME Disks. So let's have a look at that. So you launch GNOME Disks, which should be installed by default on most GNOME-based distributions. You will see your disks here. So you've got my internal drive, and we've got a 16 gig flash drive now. So this is again very simple. So you select the flash drive, you select these 3 little dots here. You go down here and we see a restore disk image. Select that image to restore. So we click over here and we go back into downloads. Again, we select image and then we click start restoring. And again, after 5 or 10 minutes, this should be finished. Your USB stick will be completely bootable. The other option I'm going to look at here is installing Tails inside a virtual machine. And I want to make sure the virtual machine has persistent storage. So the only virtualization technology that I'm aware of that this will work on is the native one for Linux. So it's called, in my case, it's just called QEMU and virt-manager and libvirt-d. I mean, it's a bunch of different packages. If you go through the options here, it tells you how to install it. Let's see, where is it? Virtualization solutions, running Tails in virt-manager. And it tells you how to install virt-manager and the libvirt and the KVM and the QEMU. Tells you how to install all the packages. Okay, so this is the one we're going to go through here now. So I'm not going to go through how you install virt-manager and libvirt-d. It's just a couple of simple packages. But we need to do a few things first in order to prepare for our persistent storage. So our Tails image is 1.5 gig. If we launch this as a USB stick or as a drive on a virtual machine, it will only have 1.5 gigs of storage. And this is no good because persistent storage requires 2 things. It requires that it's a removable drive, and it requires that it's bigger than the base image. So it uses up the free space for the persistent storage. So we need to make this bigger. So on Linux, there is a really nice command. If we go into downloads, we use truncate -s. So say we go with 8 gigs Tails image. So this command truncate will truncate a bunch of extra space onto the end of this image. And it's almost instantaneous. All it really does is allocates the space. It doesn't actually put any data into that space. So it's quite quick. It's just modifying the file system. So our next step. Okay, so in this step, we're going to use virt-manager to install Tails on our local PC as a virtual machine. Let's just quickly run through that process. So if you follow the instructions from the website to install virt-manager, I mean, there's various different ways. On Pacman, you just install libvirt-d and the virtualization manager. So virt, let's start it off, manager. Let's run virt-manager. And let's create a new machine. Import existing disk image. Click forward. Click browse. And you can see that I have it here, but maybe that doesn't appear for you. So the easiest way to do it is to paste in the full path to the file, and then you can select the operating system type is Debian 12. It doesn't really matter, but you can't leave this blank. Then we click forward. We want to have 4096, that's 4 gigs of RAM and maybe 4 CPUs. So using persistent storage, it can be a bit sluggish system to boot up. Forward. One thing we also got to note here, we got to make sure we customize the configuration before install, because the disk type is wrong. The virtual network default NAT. Sometimes you might see this is marked as inactive, but when you click finish, it will say, do you want to start it? Yes, you want to start it. Finish. So the big change we have to do here is inside the disk. So if we go into the virt.io disk 1, this is our 8 gig USB storage. So it's a USB device. It's not a virtual I/O device. So we need to make sure we flag that here. You also need to note that there are a number of options in the advanced options, and 5 options here. But if we click apply, so when we change this to USB, we have to click apply before we see the 6th option, which is make it a removable disk. So in order to use persistent storage on Tails, it checks whether the USB device is a removable device. The QEMU KVM virtualization is the only one that I'm aware of that allows you to create a removable USB device. So this is why we need to use this to get persistent storage. When we click apply, and then we click begin installation. The virtual machine is now being created. Okay, so it's booted. So we see we have an option here, Tails 6.3, quickly passed by. And now the system is booting. So this could take a while. It's not particularly the fastest. Okay, so booted back up. Okay, this took a while. Create persistent storage. So I'm based in, let's just have a look at the configuration here, okay? Before we start Tails, we have to do some configuration. I want to change the keyboard type because I'm in Ireland. I'll take it to Irish English. So we have English, Irish, we have English, Ireland, okay. Persistent storage, yes, we want persistent storage because we have made our USB stick bigger. You can save some files on your persistent storage, your documents, browser bookmarks, Wi-Fi passwords, and so on. Additional settings. The default settings are safe in most situations. So the only one here that I've kind of maybe of an interest in is the administration password. So you can set this. This gives you root access to the Tails installation if it's something you're interested in. Other stuff is just, yeah, I mean, it's okay. But the administration password is the big one. So you can turn off MAC address anonymization. I don't know why you want to do that. Offline mode, just disable all your networks. Unsafe browser. So there is a browser built into Tails that is not safe. The main reason this is used for is sometimes with a Wi-Fi connection, you need to be able to connect to a web page in order to authenticate, in particular with some of the freer Wi-Fi connections that you find in airports and stuff. And the network connection is just obsolete. So I'm not going to change anything here today. So we'll create the persistent storage. You've no real choice about the size. It just basically uses all the free space on the USB stick. Okay, so let it go. Let it rip. Okay, so we see here it's detected it's running inside a virtual machine. Um, Tails doesn't recommend this because it says that the hypervisor itself could possibly do some recording. It recommends that you use this QEMU KVM because it's open source and the code is visible, but yeah, they don't recommend that you do it this way. But if you're running it from your own PC and you know it's trustworthy, then you should be okay. Everything you do disappears automatically when you shut down Tails, but you can save some of your files and configuration inside the persistent storage. Your documents, Wi-Fi, bookmarks, etc. So let's continue setting up our persistent storage. We've got to set a password. So the password we can set is, let's say, I'm going to set a really stupid one. So we can show you. As you can see, this is an absolutely terrible password. A good password could be something like, and then do capital L, 3AS, please, THANK. So that would be a good password. So it would be very difficult to crack that password. It's like 3 different words using alphanumeric characters. It's got hyphens in it. It's got numbers instead of letters. That would be an extremely difficult one, but it might be an easy one to remember. Okay. So, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to use a really simple one. So create persistent storage. Okay, next stage here is the persistent storage is created and unlocked. Now we have to configure what we want to back up. So do we want to back up the system settings, welcome screen, printers? I don't care about those two. But definitely the network connection. I want to save that. We're not using a Tor bridge. A Tor bridge is, let me just quickly go back to my diagram. So, I mean, this is the free version where the entry guard is just on the Tor network. If you have a Tor bridge, then you get a kind of a customized, dedicated one just for you. But you have to request one of those directly off the Tor team. So we're not going to use a Tor bridge. Usually they're only used when you don't have access to the Tor network or it's a problem connecting to Tor from your own ISP. So we want the bookmarks, yes. Bitcoin wallet, well, if you're using Bitcoin, it's best to back it up. The Thunderbird email client, yes, would be the configuration for your email. The GNU-PG, so this is the OpenPGP keys. So yeah, we definitely want to back up that. Pigeon Internet Messenger, if that's something you're using. The SSH client, yeah, that would back up the keys. Dot files, so every sim link in the dot files folder in the home folder. Yeah, I'm not too interested in that at the moment. That's just mostly for third-party applications you might install. Additional software. So if it finds any software in the persistent storage on boot, it will automatically install that software. So I think we're good. So there is no OK or save button here. It's just close. Right, so the next window we got is the Tor connectivity. Everything you do on the internet from Tails goes through the Tor network. Tor encrypts and anonymizes your connection by passing it through 3 relays. Tor relay servers are operated by different organizations and volunteers around the world. So we want to connect to Tor automatically. We don't want a Tor bridge. So maybe there's some more information here in a Tor bridge. That's what you're interested in. And you might need to go and notice if Tor could look suspicious. Yeah, we're not interested in that one either. It's okay where I am. Let's launch Tor. Okay, connected to Tor successfully. We can take a look at the Tor circuits that we've connected to. And we can see Tor relays, circuits, different locations. I mean, you can only really tell the location based on the description. But we can see that there's multiple systems here. We've got different IP addresses, different ranges, different speeds. You're only as fast as the slowest speed. So I mean, if we're connected to anything that is quite slow, like this one here, then it's our slowest. Our network, this one is even slower. But okay, and let's just start the Tor browser, because there's something I want to just mention here. Everything is quite sluggish. I mean, if you're used to running your operating system off, say, an SSD, it can be quite quick compared to this. Using Tor on Tails, everything just seems a bit sluggish, but yeah. There we go. Finally. So, in general, when you're surfing the internet, I mean, most things are fine. But if you're using Tails in order to browse something like the darknet, which I'm not going to cover, then you need to just be a little bit aware of your security settings. One thing is that, I mean, it uses uBlock Origin by default built in, but it also has, if you go into your add-ons and themes, it also has no script. And if you can see up here, no script is not visible, it's hidden. Personally, I prefer if it was shown. And also in the configuration, if you go into this little spanner here, and if you look at the general default permissions, you see the JavaScript is allowed. I would not allow that. I would just turn it off. It's up to you, but definitely if you're going to be using Tails to crawl the internet and maybe go into the darknet or something, you do not want JavaScript running. So that's just personal preference. I would definitely turn it off. Okay, so now we have Tails up and running. Because we've just enabled this, we just want to refresh the page to make sure that JavaScript is disabled. You can see here it's already disabled one script. So let's have a look at the Tor check. You can see it's kind of sluggish. I mean, as mentioned. Okay, so your IP address appears to be 45.141.215.169. So I know that's not my IP address, so it's working. Let me just have a look at a website. Say duckgo.com. Let's see, bookmarks, Tor blog. Show the bookmarks toolbar. So I just want to show you something here. So it's sluggish. Again, if you're on your normal connection, this would be just instant. Okay, DuckDuckGo. So let's just add a bookmark here. And we save it to the bookmark bar. Save. So now, because we have the persistent storage set up, we can see that these will survive the reboot. So I think we've got enough with it so far with this. I probably will do another video on Tails, maybe going into the tools that are on the platform. My name is Tom Kraz. If you got any value from this, please like and subscribe, and thank you very much, and I'll talk to you all the next time. Bye bye.